Hey, Bastish B here for 64K and welcome to another episode of New Retro. And if you've never watched this show before, I have a look at a new retro game on an old system, and then we also have a look at either the inspiration or the original version of that game. And today's games are... So let's first check out the original. King's Valley was released in 1985 on the Japanese MSX computer by Konami. It's quite a forgotten gem from such a big publisher, but that's probably mostly due to it being on the MSX and only seen a small run DOS release. The MSX was an extremely popular computer in Japan, selling over 5 million units, but its popularity outside of that country was minimal, mainly due to its late release in the 8-bit Western computer market, who was already dominated by the likes of the Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum. So King's Valley got a little bit lost amongst Konami's big releases. The game was essentially a platform arcade puzzler, where you as an Indiana Jones styled adventurer was setting about to raid various Egyptian tombs and rob them of their gems. Of course, the place is infested with mummies out to kill you as you try to dodge, stab and dig your way to those precious jewels before escaping all 15 tombs. It's a really fun and addictive arcade style game that maybe gets a little bit too hard too quickly, but once you get the flow of it, the gameplay is hard to put down and a ton of fun. The MSX also got an exclusive sequel to the system as well, that unfortunately never got a port to any other computer or console of the time. And now let's have a look at the new version. So, 35 years after its initial release, we finally got to see an unofficial port of King's Valley to the C64 in 2020. So how does it stack up to the MSX original? Pretty simply, I would say it's slightly better in my opinion. Just like a lot of new C64 games, it uses the high-res mode to make some really nice detailed graphics, especially on the main character, who looks much more detailed than the MSX original. The team also managed to port the entire game as well, all 15 tombs, with a nice music score which pretty much replicates the original exactly. The game was programmed by Mario Mora and has been released through re.bit magazine.it, and I'll leave a link to it in the description. It was originally slated to be a full commercial release through Cytronic Software, with them even trying to work out some sort of official deal with Konami. But alas, something went wrong and Cytronic pulled out, which means the awesome Steve Day loader screen is now no longer, unfortunately, part of the game. The positive aspect to this is that the game is still available through re.bit, and now that the fact that it's unofficial, it is also free. The game is extremely fun, and you could probably compare it to Lode Runner in terms of gameplay. It's very arcadey, but at the same time it's pretty strategic, and I think it's these elements which make it so addictive, with the main gameplay mechanic being you can only carry one item at a time, so knowing when to pick up a knife or a shovel for digging or jumping your way out of a bad situation, there's a lot of fun to be had. You should check this one out, you'll be pleasantly surprised. So you're probably wondering, where can I get these games? As for the original MSX version, eBay is probably still your best bet for a physical cartridge version, although it is pretty expensive. The DOS release is super obscure and goes for absurd prices, if you can even manage to find it, which I couldn't. Alternatively, you can get the Sega Saturn compilation disc, Konami Antiques MSX Collection Ultra Pack, released in 1998, featuring 30 MSX originals, with King's Valley in that collection. As for the new C64 version, I'll leave a link to re.bit's site. It is in Italian, so if you cannot speak the language, you may have to Google Translate it, but I'll link to the download page, or you can get it from csdb.dk, which I'll also leave in the links. And thanks for joining me, Bastish B at 64K. I hope you had a good time. If you can like and subscribe, that'll be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!